Fáilte Rash, welcome back to the 6 o'clock show. We're now joined by our climate hero, the one and only Fionnuala Moore, to chat bottles, belts and bugs.
An eclectic mix, as always. Fionnuala, we're going to start with the deposit return scheme. We're 6 months in. Is it a thumbs up or a thumbs down for that one?
For all the moaning we did, it is our national sport. We seem to be taking very well to it. We've got 347 million containers returned since February. So I think we're doing pretty well so
give me
far.
That figure again.
347 million.
That's incredible.
Yeah, so I think it was 2 billion we were saying of these products are put on the market every year. So that's like a huge, huge chunk of them going right back to where they're meant to be. It's 3.2 million daily average in July, and that's up from 69,000 in February. So that's like a huge, huge increase.
And we're also seeing them at music festivals and all across the country as well.
Which is a really nice thing. We spoke about it in the show before. It's called Return for Children, and there's all these amazing charities that the return deposits are being given back to. If you pop your cans in, your big bag of cans at the end of the festival weekend, into the machines, all of that money is then going to charity. I saw it in action at All Together now at the weekend, so it's really great to see it all over the place. And it'll be at Electra Picnic as well now, so you can...
I'm going.
Yes.
I'm going.
Are you going?
I'm actually doing glamping, Pink Moon.
Are you? Good man. I'm going
He'll
in
have
for
someone to
Kylie.
carry his big bag of cans back from.
And are we seeing, obviously, like the tidy towns is a huge thing. Are we seeing it in terms of translating into less litter around the place?
So far so good, and it'll only get better from here. But already we've seen it was the Irish Business Against Litter surveys come back and said there's 30% fewer cans and 20% fewer plastic bottles being found littered around the place, which is absolutely brilliant. So I personally had budding entrepreneurs drop little leaflets in saying if you don't want to bring your things back, like kids in the local area, they'll do it for you. So they're trying to make a few extra bob by going around and bringing everyone's back, which I think is really cute.
That is great to see.
Yeah.
And are we seeing an impact in terms of consumer behaviour and consumer habits and what people are buying?
Yeah, as well as that Coca-Cola this year, they've just come out and said that they've seen a dip in their sales in Ireland. So that's an interesting one for me, because I would generally always try and avoid plastic bottles myself. Personally, I'd opt for glass or plastic, or glass or aluminium, excuse me. So it is kind of sensing that maybe initially there was a little bit of a shift there until people figured out the scheme, or if they thought it was too much hassle, maybe they just weren't buying those things. Now, it's no bad thing that Coca-Cola are kind of taking out of this, because they are always on the top of the world's biggest polluter list. I think they're 6 years there at the top. So no bad thing to kind of say, OK. Now, they have also come out and said they obviously encourage these schemes going around, and they've encouraged that it brings so much of the recycling back into the place where it can be best used again.
OK, so good news all round and a positive start.
So far, so good.
Yeah, so far, so good. All right, next up, Fionnuala, we have viral tourist snaps. Tell us about why one tourist photo went viral right around the world.
Yeah, so this was a couple that went on holidays in Switzerland, and they've been to the same place in August 2009. You can see the photos here. It's the Rhone Valley Glacier.
Wow, look at that.
And so basically they went back 15 years later. They wanted to bring their teenage children, and they were really, really startled by the difference in the photos. You can see the one on the left there is the one from this year, or it looks like my left from here. It might be people's right at home. Anyway, the one with less ice is the one from this year, obviously. But basically, it moved them to tears to see it like this. So it just kind of goes to show the really huge impact our climate crisis is having on the ice at the moment, and how much it's evaporating. Like, we've had stories on the show before about people going to ski destinations and there being nothing to ski on.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's just a really big impact of that. And while that's ongoing, we're actually in the midst of another huge heat wave in Antarctica. It's their second biggest one ever, and it's been 2 in 2 years now as well. So they're seeing temperatures 28 degrees higher than normal. So there's just absolutely massive impacts. This is just one that's really visible to us that we can see.
I mean, this is a prime example of citizen journalism, right? And I suppose to highlight what's going on. Is it important that people do this, Fionnuala?
So important. And there's loads of ways we can do this at home in Ireland as well. There's something called shifting baseline syndrome. And this is basically when we don't notice how bad things are because we're only used to the way they are. Whereas, like, my parents growing up would have seen like so many more bugs and butterflies and all sorts around. And then I'm used to what I see now. And then the next generation will be used to less again, because we're seeing so much degradation as we go on. And that's basically what that means, the shift in baseline. But if we are looking at these things and trying to reverse them now, we can hopefully send that back up in a positive way. So I noticed personally myself, I've been doing a lot of travel with work down and back to Wexford. And one of the things I noticed is something I hadn't seen in years, but coming back up from Wexford, the car was covered in squashed bugs. Now, obviously not great for the bugs that were squashed along the way, but it was fascinating. Yeah, sorry to them, but it was amazing to see. And I was asking the guys down there, do a lot of work with the Tidy Towns down there, and the team in Enniscorthy were saying, yeah, the guys have stopped spraying pesticides along the side of the roads. Brilliant. So even little things like that, and they're obviously doing lots of incredible work themselves, it's allowed those little pockets of nature to build back up and the ecosystems to rebuild themselves. I
love that as well. And I actually think it's really pretty when you're driving around Dublin or any parts of the country, the kind of rewilding where it's all the wild flowers. It's so lovely to see, and it brightens brightens up the place. Now we're moving to Japan next, where they've come up with a creative way to tackle transport emissions. What's going on?
So, do you know when you go to the supermarket and if you rush all of your purchases onto the conveyor belt? They're essentially doing that on the road. So they're going to have conveyor belt roads. If anyone remembers the restaurant Yo Sushi in Dundrum and had the conveyor belt and it brought all the meals around. So this is going to be like that again. They're doing 500 kilometres of this and it's going to hurtle anything that's been harvested really quickly. Like I think the strawberries and the Chinese cabbage over there need to be moved along really, really quickly. They're going to have these going, some of them in tunnels underground, some of them in the hard shoulder along the road and some of them down the middle of the highways, hurtling everything around the country really, really quickly.
But is it kind of like a travelator for products?
Yes.
So could you
literally like that?
Is it going to be for pedestrians as well, though?
I don't think so.
Okay.
So at the moment, it seems basically there's a big truck driver shortage happening in Japan. They can't get young people to go into the profession. It's a particularly difficult one over there. I think it's by 2030, there's going to be a 35% shortage of truck drivers compared to what they need sent around the country. So this is one of the ways they're going to deal with this.
And when are we hoping to see the first travelators or whatever they're called in place?
Within a decade.
Wow.
So we're not too far away. It's proper like living in the future kind of stuff, but at a cost too, 80 billion yen. That's the equivalent of 512 million euro per 10 kilometres.
Wow, but it'll reduce traffic, it'll reduce congestion, pollution,
yeah, and
all
emissions
those
and everything, and food waste too, which is a
Yeah.
huge source of emissions as well. So really, really fun, novel concept, and I'm sure it'll be rolled out everywhere as well if it goes well there.
Rolled out.
Excuse the
Hey.
pun.
Yeah, Connor. Oh, we were on that one there, yeah.
Now,
Roll it
from
out.
travelators to bugs for breakfast, Fionnuala, why are insects so sustainable?
Because they're just so delicious that no one ever...
When you're not coming back up from Wexford.
This is actually Connor's new acai bowl in his restaurant. I think, yeah, locusts, mealworms, crickets, they all seem to be the
High
big
in
ones
protein.
people are going. Exactly. But it is the protein. So basically, alternative protein sources are a huge market at the moment. Everyone's trying to find something that's more sustainable than livestock protein because that's really inefficient land use for the most part, a lot of methane emissions. There's a lot of runoff of pollution into the water systems, loads of different things going on there that makes it just not sustainable to service all of the growing populations that we have. So we're looking for other ways to do this. Now, we've been on here talking about snake meat before and all sorts of different things, lab-grown meat, I think the last day, but insects are another big player in this market, and it's called entomophagy. That is eating
I mean, I'd eat
insects.
that.
It sounds a little
try
nicer
anything.
that way.
Tanya, would you eat bugs?
No, wouldn't be my thing. I'm a celebrity. It's great and all. I do them all the challenges, but the food gets me every time. So no.
Connor, would you serve them up?
I feel like I'd give it a go, yeah, for sure.
Well, you give
Well, I
it
wouldn't
anything
serve
a
it.
go.
I'd eat them. I don't know if I'd serve
Customers
them.
is the question.
Apparently, we all consume like large quantities of bugs throughout our life, like we swallow them when we're asleep and things like that.
Yeah, I think that's against
Is
our
that an urban
purpose.
myth? That's an urban myth.
purposeful.
Stop it.
Yeah, I think the spiders one is an urban myth. But yeah, so basically this is something that's been going on for years anyway in different countries. There are delicacies in some countries like Thailand, I think. Were you saying you've had something before, Derek?
Yeah. I've
Delicious?
had fried locust.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, very
Stunning.
tasty. Like, are we going to see them? Are we going to see them in restaurants in Ireland?
Yeah, so the EU have already been signing off on this. So there's a few different ones. I think we're saying the locusts, there's a beetle, some mealworms, some larvae, and crickets are the main ones going on. There's restaurants in London already serving them up. So our very hip neighbours just across the water. I've no doubt it'll come over here very soon as well. But it is signed off by the EU at the moment. So it's coming.
You lost me at mealworms now, I have to say. Isn't that what you use
I'm
for
sure
fish
you've
bait?
eaten worse, Darren.
Yeah, oh my God. Oh my God. Well, listen, insects, I don't know. Well,
I'll give it a try.
yeah,
Would you give it a try?
Give it a try.
They're not aimed at vegans and vegetarians. It's more for people who want to keep eating animal meats for that kind of typical sort of protein. So it's not, I'm not the target demo, but you guys enjoy.
You're off the hook, so to speak.
Thank you very much, Fionnuala. Don't go anywhere. Up next, we're all getting chili in the kitchen, literally.
Yes, it's chili beef burrito bowls on the menu. We'll see you back here in 3.